But you're now to the paper review. We'll have Dr. Constance back again.
Yes, my second advent.
Yeah. That's how I say.
Okay, this morning we're having Dr. Iyubosa Owugiaren to look at the headlines with us. He is the editor, Nation's Capital of This Day newspaper, and a member of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. Glad to have you.
Good morning.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the program. Let's begin with This Day newspaper. In This Day 64th anniversary, despite bumpy days, nation will prevail, says Akpabio. FG hands over 64 CNG buses to Labour students. Tinubu appoints Tegbe DG Global Liaison for Nigeria-China Strategic Partnership, and Cardoso World Bank IMF brainstorm to craft new strategies for inclusive growth in Africa. So the Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Olayemi Cardoso participated at a high-level Bretton Woods at 80 forum where he represented Africa's interest. He said the strategies developed there will equip the continent to meet present and future needs. Do you think so, Dr. Owugiaren? I mean, the ones that have been developed over the past 60 years, where have they landed the continent so far?
Well, I think there should be that effort, to continue to engage the global community about the challenges we're having in Africa. And I think what the CBN did recently is along that line. Because we have serious challenges in Africa when you talk about economic growth. And the problem could be that Africa, for example, about 40% of Africans live below the poverty line. And that's one of the huge challenges we must begin to have conversations around. We also have limited economic diversification. We have poor governance issues, and that is affecting the economic growth of Africa. And we also have a poor framework mechanism, weak institution. So those are some of the things, limited infrastructure, limited funding, and all that. So these are some of the issues that Africa must continue to have conversations around and see how they can rally the entire world to be part of the solutions. I think the CBN governor is in the right track.
Collaborations internationally are crucial. At the same time, the international financial system, the international capitalist system hasn't served Africa very well. It seems to be on the fringes of everything that is going on. It then means that Africa has to find its own path. It has to look inward and really develop a system that will work for it. Indeed, what are your thoughts on that?
You just took it out of my mouth. The question is, when will Africa, Nigeria, start developing its own? I mean, all right, one of us, I don't want to call the name because it may be an advert that he didn't pay for. He's manufacturing cars here. I was in a car yesterday and the person said that car in front. I said it's made in Nigeria by someone. So when will we start or stop running to the world? They don't run to us. IMF doesn't run to us. If you look like countries like Argentina, I mean, the talk in court is that IMF or World Bank helped destroy Argentina, its economy. So, and the talk again is that the world won't help you develop yourself to the point that you be free from their tentacles. So you have to find a workable system for yourself. In as much as it's a global village and you can't run away from what happens all over the world, but then you have got to start to think inwards and look at yourself. Mariah Carey sang a song and said, the hero is in you, which means you should look inwards and find a workable system for yourself. So even when you run to the world, you're running, howbeit, even if not at par, but relatively competitively,
right.
That's the point here.
Right. Let's look at Punch newspaper. Policeman flashpoints, APC opposition clash. Naira for crude deal begins Tuesday, according to Tinubu panel. 17 governors raise minimum wage panels. Cameroon dam NEMA crew monitors Niger, Benue, Rivers. And Nigeria at 64, Obasanjo, Akpabio, SGF service chiefs grace Thanksgiving service. So let's look at the October 1 protest here reported by Punch. State Police Command is deploying teams around the country. This protest has been in the making for a while. It will be the second time in about 2 months that Nigerians are pouring into the streets to express their dissatisfaction with the government. The previous protest did not achieve its goals, as the organizers of this one says. What makes it possible that they would achieve their demands this time? What do you think, Dr. Wogiaren?
Well, unfortunately, we are back to the same debate in the last 1 month. This is the second time we're having conversations on whether Nigerians should protest or not to protest. I listened to Showore yesterday, the leader of the planned protest, and he said the reason why they are banking on this protest is because the federal government has not been able to meet their demand, arising from the end bad governance protests we had almost about a month ago. And what are those demands? Demand that where there's still, the cost of living in Nigeria is still very high, poor governance issues have not been addressed, and they're also asking that the electoral reform should be, there should be electoral reform, and so many things that the federal government has not been able to respond to, And on the basis of that, they said they are going ahead with the protest. Like we keep on saying, protest is the legitimate right of every Nigerian. And when they are aggrieved, they have every right to protest, especially under the democratic setting. They have every right to protest. But in most cases, when we protest, we end up having a violent protest that tends to undermine the economic challenges that's already been battered. The last time we had a protest, we saw what happened in Kaduna, we saw what happened in Kano, and we saw what happened in so many states where properties were destroyed, government institutions were looted, and at the end of the day, some people were said to have been killed. Do we need that? Well, if the protesters can guarantee peaceful protests, I don't have any problem with that, because whether we like it or not, what is happening in Nigeria today is affecting everybody. So if there's a way we can put pressure on government to begin to look at those issues, I don't have a problem with that. But my problem is that when this peaceful protest starts, other hoodlums, criminals have a way of hijacking it and begin to make it look as if the peaceful protesters were responsible for the violent protests. I think that is the area the security agencies are worrying about. And they are saying that they are ready for them. And at the end of the day, let's see how it goes. But I think Nigerians have a right. We have a right to protest when we are aggrieved. There's nothing wrong with that.
Is it the job of the protesters to guarantee a peaceful protest? I mean, sometimes we hear reports that, they are being infiltrated and they're causing problem to make it look like it's the protesters that are problematic to the country. And again, over 1,000 people still held from August. Are we going to see a repeat this time around, it looks like?
I mean, history, they say, repeats itself. But I think the leaders of the protests or have a right to admonish the protesters or demonstrators to say, look, this is why we're protesting. This is how we're going to protest. It should be peaceful. However, it does not stop sort of hoodlums or nuisances to infiltrate that protest. When you have millions and millions and millions of people who are out of work, who are not going to school, who have nothing to do, who are hungry, who are angry, they're going to infiltrate the protest. They're going to try and loot where they see a loophole. And those are the people that the security agencies should be focused on. So if they're on the streets, if they are positioning themselves in strategic areas, those are the people to look out for, not people who are just demonstrating and voicing out their issues or dissatisfaction with the government.
All right, let's look at Daily Trust. Residents NAF disagree as airstrike kills scores in Kaduna. LG poll uncertainty in Rivers PDP as Fubara allies defect to APP. Constitution review. Northern Southern senators disagree on regionalism. Media Trust donates 10 million naira to Maiduguri flood victims. Heart diseases spike fuel sudden deaths in Nigeria. I mean, it was a World Heart Day yesterday, And the verdict is that cardiovascular diseases are a major source of sudden deaths, people slumping and passing away in Nigeria. The common causes are hypertension, stroke, heart attack, acute heart failure, disorders of the electrical activities of the heart, etc. Lifestyle is a common contributor to this. As people move away from rural areas where you trek for a very long distance to go to farm or go to school. Now we're having a sedentary lifestyle in the urban centers, and this is killing us, Dr. Wogaren.
Yes, I agree. Yes, I agree with you. It's been very worrisome. In the last few years, according to the report, especially in Lagos, 51% of the sudden death, according to the report, was as a result of this heart disease. And the problem is, what are the factors that ignite some of these things? The report talk about the environment, talk about lifestyle of so many Nigerians, the kind of diet, the kind of food we eat, and all that. So it talk about that. I think the federal government and other stakeholders, including the state government, should be arise to their responsibilities and see how they can manage these things. I was in China recently, and these are people who pay more attention to their environment, and they are careful about the environment. The kind of cars that you see on the road, the noise pollutions, environmental pollutions, they are very conscious of that. But in Nigeria, we don't give a damn. We don't care about that, So when you have a country that is paying less attention to health issues and rather playing more politics, then the result is what we are saying. So I think the federal government, the state government and local government, who should be responsible for managing the health of its people, should be alive to their responsibilities. And Nigeria themselves should also find a way, to go for regular medical checkup. And we should try as much as possible to also live a very healthy life. It's, the kind of thing we do, smoking, a lot of alcohol consumption, and all that. So those things will not really help our health issues. And that's according to the medical expert. So we must find a way to respond to some of these issues and see how we can also help ourselves, while we are also urging the federal government, the state government, and local government level, and the local government to find a way to also come up with a framework, policies, and programs that can improve the health of Nigerians.
This type of stories often do not make the headlines, and most times we don't even pay a lot of attention in terms of coverage to health stories, and that's one of the reasons why we decided to discuss it. Health is important. Health, they say, is wealth, and individually, apart from the government, the people have to be conscious of their health. And then when you have stories that provide information about what to do, I think it's even more useful, isn't it?
No, good that you brought it up, and good what Eobosa said there about people taking. A writer said that physical exercise is profitable, and then godliness is profitable on two things. You take the little that exercises can give you is very key. People do not go to doctors. They would tell you, even when people talk about, I want to be on diet, I want to lose weight, after everything's said and done, it will come back to the kind of life you're living as per the exercises, how you maybe work, like the consultant said, people are no longer taking long walks to the farm, which in quotes is just trying to walk up your body, train your body, do exercises, and then very key, in these times when times are really tough for parents and for people, you must learn to empty your heart. Because one of the things that also causes, somebody again said that, for example, unforgiveness does more harm to the person that is harboring it than the person it is targeted. So the way you handle your heart, the things you leave there, to a very large extent, troubles your heart and causes it not to function well, and then resulting in cardiovascular problems, CVDs, that lead to sudden deaths via heart, what do you call it?
Heart failure.
Heart failure.
Yeah. I mean, before we leave this story, Nkechi, when we talk about walking distances, it also has to do with how the cities are designed. Look at Abuja, for instance. It is a developing city. It's a city that can still be designed in a way where you can walk. It's not a walking city at all. And so when you think about the future and other parts of the country where you design urban centers, it has to be favorable to walking around, so that everywhere is not expressways, and if you don't have vehicles, then it's difficult. So the cities are built for vehicles and not built for human beings.
I mean, it comes down to planning. When you're planning a city, the master plan, you should have, obviously, roads for cars. You need roads or spaces for pedestrian walkers as well. When you come to Abuja, I mean, I'm familiar with Abuja because we live here. It doesn't really seem like a very favorable place for people to be walking. I mean, you've like you said, we have expresses everywhere, express road here.
Abuja is even better than Lagos.
I mean,
yes. Within the districts you can walk, but not from one district to the other.
Exactly.
Everywhere should
so
be
even
walkable.
If you're trying to cut down on transportation, you can't even say, okay, let me just take a walk near my office and then maybe catch a taxi to my office. So it's just not favorable.
No, but you can try to do exercises wherever you are. So
anyway,
not let that hinder you, because it's very key you exercise.
True. Yeah. Okay. So let's look at New Telegraph. New Telegraph. How poor leadership, faulty structure, others slowed Nigeria's growth. And this was at the Independence Day celebration. It's also highlighting the constitution review that is going on. Senators unite on LG autonomy, but disagree on state police. I mean, perennial issue, Dr. Yubosa. You know, state police, the structure of Nigeria. Are we ever going to get over this issue? I think maybe it's time for everybody to really decide that we need to solve these problems, because when these problems are not solved, it looks like we're going nowhere.
Absolutely, I agree with you. Whether we like it or not, whether we're having economic challenges, political crisis, another poor governance, everything boils down to good governance, leadership problem. Unfortunately, our leadership recruitment process is not also very, very clear, And when you have a leader that keep on rewarding, unpatriotic citizens, keep on rewarding corrupt political elites, keep on, putting people who don't deserve positions in place. The message you are sending to good Nigerians is that to be a good Nigerian doesn't come with reward. And it will get to a point where people will believe that, of what use will I continue to be a good Nigerian when the governments at the local government level, state level, and federal government level are busy rewarding, corrupt people, busy rewarding dubious people who don't add values to our economy, who don't add value to our values, who don't add value to our political stability. You keep on rewarding them by way of your political appointment. So the message you are sending to good Nigerians is that, look, it doesn't pay to be a good Nigerian. It doesn't pay to be a good followers. So, and the implication of that is what we are beginning to have in Nigeria today. And that is why the leadership must be very careful, must begin to rethink the way they behave when they are in position of power, that we need to begin to reward good Nigerians, patriotic Nigerians. We need to continue to reward excellent, not rewarding people who forge certificates at all levels. Putting them in political positions at all levels, and thereby compounding the problem, thereby sending a strong signal to Nigerians that it doesn't pay to be a good Nigerian or to be patriotic. So, whether we like it or not, the problem we're having in Nigeria today has to do with the leadership problems. Until we begin to solve that, then we'll continue to run round and round, as Fela would say.
International headlines. Citizen newspaper from South Africa. The fear of the theme of national unity. Deep class differences persist in a society that is still deeply unequal. I mean, a South African national rugby team won a match last weekend, and it's being said that the team is unquestionably the country's best national team. The suggestion is that it will influence the social and political sphere, bringing unity to the country. It shows the power of sports to foster social cohesion, isn't it, Nkechi?
I mean, sports and music, they say, brings
people together.
Brings people together. And so, yes, you might be correct in saying that. And I think Indy would love this topic.
About sports, right?
Yes, you love sports.
Oh yeah, I mean football and the rest of sports. It really, it's only football that brings. When it's football time, there's no Yoruba, there's no Hausa. Everybody focuses on football, you know, and it's very key. But that thing on team on what's it again?
The rugby national team.
Oh,
South Africa.
You were talking about rugby
yes.
particularly.
Rugby, yes.
Okay, I thought you were talking about the team unity, but it's a very good thing. It's a very good development, and then of course it affects the youths. I mean, that's how you can really tap into the power of the youths.
Okay, let's look at Daily Mail. Political memoir of the century. Boris Macron wanted punishment beating for Britain over Brexit. Former Prime Minister Boris Johnson revealed sensational details in his memoir, which he claimed that the French President Emmanuel Macron was weaponizing small boat crisis to undermine Brexit. You know, the boat crossings from France to the UK of illegal migrants. Johnson says this will be used as a punishment, or it was meant to be a punishment by allowing this crossings. Damning. I'm sure Macron will be waiting to defend himself, Dr. Wogiaren.
Boris is accusing Macron of wanted to sabotage Britain. He did that in 2021 when he was a prime minister. And this time around is, I think, there's a book he wrote, which the Daily Mail is serializing on a daily basis. And that is one of the revelations that the Daily Mail tried to focus on. And that Macron did everything to frustrate the British Britain. And that it was that he saw it as a slum, on the part of Macron. And one that how he did everything to also tackle him, and at the end of the day, the guy was. I mean, the whole thing, his plan was not successful, So I think that's exactly what he was saying. That, and he also said that is the view of Macron, how he viewed the entire world, Well, let's see, is trying to extract. His memory about when he was in power. But I also want to believe that maybe in the next few days, Macron will find opportunity to also respond to that.
Okay.
Whether it is true or not.
Right. So that's all we have time for, unfortunately. I mean, there's the Financial Times where Israel steps up attacks on Iran proxies. But we'll have to leave it there. Yeah,
that's what we're seeing in Lebanon. All right, thank you so much, Dr. Constance Ikoku, and of course, Dr. Uwujiran Yobosa Uwujiran. Yeah, thank you so much for being here. That's all we have for you on Daybreak this morning. Thanks for watching. Next is the morning show. I am Ndi Amogu, thanking you for watching.
And I am Nkechi Nana.